Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Questing for Glory 2023. I am your pre-show host, Bob the Ninja Goldfish, and here with me in our first segment of the pre-show is our High Overlord, High Spirits. How you doing, HS?
Oh, not too bad, Bob. Usually I'm just called the King Slime or the Grandpa Slime.
I
But
I
yeah,
know that it's a whole Dragon Warrior thing, but
yeah, I know. Not for everyone, but it's a joke. But yeah, I'm doing great, and I'm
also
excited.
the existence of a Grandpa Slime implies the existence of Daddy Slime, which I really don't want to go into. You know,
I'm just, what can I say? Just a big guy with a big beard,
yeah,
flopping around.
thanks to us.
Yeah, the bearded duo is back once again.
Yeah. So our pre-show. We're talking to High Spirits here for a little bit about Question for Glory and the history of it. Then we are going to have 3 interviews with runners from throughout the week. Starscream, Kios Little Monster, and will be Crow. Then we'll come back to round out the pre-show with myself and High Spirits again. Sort of to talk more about the actual schedule of the marathon. So, I mean, I guess we've got to delve into the whys and wherefores. So let's talk a bit about Questing for Glory. How long we've been doing this now?
Well, Questing for Glory's been started in 2017. Pretty much just an idea of, hey, back then in the heydays,
Yeah.
there wasn't a whole lot of marathons. It was still relatively, a couple of on-site events and, a couple of online. And it's like, I just want to give a place for more people to show off, games, show off RPGs, because this is what I live for. And so I created the idea of making Questing for Glory an RPG marathon, put it opposite of the major on-site RPG marathon that was going on, which is obviously RPG Limit Break. And we just made it free for all and a week of fun.
So, by that implication, you say that back then there was only a few marathons. Now there seem to be, we seem to be quite literally swimming in the things. What do you think it is that separates Questing for Glory from some of the other non-on-site marathons?
I actually I had a discussion with one of my admins, someone who's helped out with like the layouts and such, Palmer, good friend. And I was like, I was talking about one of the things I think our marathon has is still an old school feel to it. As in, we haven't changed a lot of like the layouts are relatively, around the same. We update things. We get a new logo, new banner, great artwork by K Butts Corner. And but we keep the whole like, just no webcams, just game screen information and just have fun. And we're really relaxed, chill. We tell people, estimates are estimates. Just don't worry about it. Have fun, be entertaining, and let everyone enjoy the runs. And I feel like we still keep to the same ideas of the event, which is if you submit the game, it can get in. Just ask the runners, even this year, like, why did you take my game? Because hey, you submitted it, and it looks like it could be fun.
Yeah. So you mentioned there not having webcams and things on stream. What when you set up QFG, what was it that what were the what were the tenets you were trying to hit with it, really?
I think the big things.
that
Yeah.
openness.
Yeah, the big things, the big points of making the whole marathon were one, another RPG marathon, one that could didn't have the constraints of charity or being able to trying to raise funds, raise awareness, just a place for any game that had a shot or that gets played has a chance. And two, to have another event, just like I said, just more RPGs, and as a place that in the community that they are, because we put it on the RPG Limit Break channel because it already had an established community at the time, and we also thought it's a win-win situation because we can raise awareness for the main marathon at the same time of having an established audience. So more eyes, more games, get more games out there. And we also wanted to give people like marathon experience.
Right.
Because like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of marathons back there. And for people trying to submit to on-site events like the Games Done Quicks or the RPG Limit Break, this was a great chance to get marathon experience, have submission videos even, and get ready for an on-site event.
So you mentioned there during your description that you put together a non-charity marathon. That didn't stick for too long, did it? Because for at least 2 years there, you did sort of take up the weight, and Questing for Glory did become the annual marathon that we do on the channel for NAMI. I'm going to ask you what might be a fairly obvious and stupid question at this point, but how does putting together the two types of Questing for Glory differ? I mean, I'm guessing one must be a little bit easier because you're not worrying about hosts and donation stations, things like that.
Obviously, having about 50 less volunteers is a good start.
Volunteer coordinator for yes.
having to not have about 50 less volunteers doing various jobs, so a lot less micromanagement on my end. So that's obviously were one of the easiest parts. For like the behind the scenes, like besides that, like the games and stuff, obviously when we start including like trying to help raise money for NAMI and awareness, sometimes that influences the game selection a little bit because when we discussed this stuff, we made it a point to say we obviously need some big hitters, we need popular series, but we didn't want to lose what Questing for Glory was, and we wanted there to be the games you've never heard of, the games you never expected to get in, the long speed runs or the very unknown titles or unknown runners that were looking for a chance. And so I think we kept to what we had always our tenets, I guess you could say, and made sure we did a little bit of both. But yeah, obviously the charity aspect is a big influence, but also I just say the volunteers for me.
All right, so we're going to come back to talk to you a little bit later on in the pre-show. But for now, it is time for me to throw it over to me.
Bob to Bob.
Take it away, me.
Go, Bob.
Okay, thanks, me. I'm here with our first interviewee of the day. The one, the only, the truly original, Leggy Starscream. How you doing, Leggy?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to be here.
Right?
This is such a good marathon.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to just like binge this the entire time.
It's definitely going to have a non-zero amount of impact on my sleep schedule. That's for certain. So you're going to be one of our runners later in the week, correct?
Yep. All the way back on Saturday. Good time, too. At least, I don't have to... middle of the day Eastern time, those of us here in those American time zones don't even have to wake up early.
Or late, for that matter. Just it's like that nice middle part of the day that just sit down with a nice glass of whatever you're drinking and some lunch and enjoy the run. Speaking of which, what will you be running for us?
Yeah, so I will be running Super Lesbian Animal RPG, and if you hear that title and are like, wait, what's that game all about?
I won't lie to you. The title of the game was like a non-zero amount of the reason I wanted you to come on and sort of preview the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. Like, the title explains the game. It's, lesbian animals being super in an RPG. Like
Super insofar as they were all just having a really good day, or super as in like actual superpowers.
Spoilers.
Oh. Or we're looking like super in the Super Mario kind of thing, where it's like he's not actually super, he's just a bit jumpy.
I think it's a bit closer to the Super Mario.
Okay.
But, when you're in an RPG setting, everyone's got that little bit of magic. Everyone's a little bit super,
Yeah.
But there's still some really cool stuff in there. It's a small indie game that came out, oh gosh, almost a year ago now. And the moment I heard about it, I jumped on it immediately, sat down, played through it. It's a nice, like, 10-15 hour game, depending on how much of the optional content you do. Really sweet story, really kicking soundtrack. And I knew once I finished it that, there was no way I wasn't going to be speedrunning it.
Yeah, when you said you saw this and you jumped on it immediately, you and I met for the first time this year at Limit Break, right? And when I read the game name, I was like, that's such a leggy game, right? Like, it's so perfect, and I can't wait to actually see the run. Now, I'm going to... I apologize for this, but I'm going to assume that most of chat hasn't played Super Lesbian Animal Adventure. So, I don't know whether that's a safe bet or not. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the speed tech you'll be using in the game?
Yeah.
Or is there specific tricks that come up a lot or that kind of thing?
There isn't much in the way of, like, what people would ordinarily consider like tech or glitches. You're basically just doing a very optimized playthrough of the run.
Right.
And specifically for all quests, there's a little bit of extra routing we had to do to make sure that we did all of the quests compared to any percent. But some things to keep in mind throughout the run. A lot of the late game bosses are weak to ice. And as it turns out, you can do some shenanigans with the speed up spell to keep things a little bit cool, as it were. Also, never forget, kissing your girlfriend gives you a 15% buff to all of your stats.
I mean, yes, it does, usually. I mean, not just in the game, obviously.
Yes. I will be receiving several kisses before my run, so
good. Good.
It does wear off after 5 turns.
It's you got to build up the stacks, right?
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see Super Lesbian Animal Adventure. I was trying to think if there was an acronym I could use there, but no.
It's SLARPG.
SLARPG. Yeah, okay. What are you looking forward to other than your own run, obviously, here in the marathon?
Yeah, so other than that, I'm also going to be, hanging out with Ice Blue immediately for Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. But of the games where I'm not, like,
directly involved.
I honestly, El Magus doing Final Fantasy IV No 64 is going to be great. I've run FF4 before, but the no credits warp category, so we stop at Dwarf Castle. This one just says, nah, we don't like climbing stairs, we're just going to keep going. And then looking through the schedule, I noticed Lost Kingdom's on there, which is a game that I like half remembered. And no, it's exactly the one I think I did from reading Nintendo Power back in the day. It is a GameCube card battler made by FromSoft for the GameCube. Yep. That's going to be wild.
Yep. And if FromSoft have certainly evolved their catalog since then. All right, so we are plummeting quickly towards the end of the interview, which means it is time for me to bring out the top hat of random questions. So, for those of you who are joining us for the first time for QFG or otherwise, the first time I did one of these pre-shows, I reached out to the QFG Discord and Twitter and asked them to send me a bunch of very random questions that I could ask the people I was interviewing. And every time I do this, I pick 2 questions out of the hat to ask an interviewer, an interviewee even. And we've still got a few left in the hat. So we're going to finish those off this year. And if we do this again next year, we will be looking for more questions next year. So, Leggy, are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
All right. Let's see here. Just as my eye starts watering. All right. This will be a good one.
Oh, no.
You have Wonder Woman's lasso of truth.
Okay.
Who do you use it on, and what do you ask them?
Oof. So with American politics where it is in current year, I have a lot of good options that I don't want to get into.
Bring politics into this.
Yeah, I know. God. I don't know. Does it work on pets? Because I would love to hear, just how much my cats love me.
Okay, that's fair. It's fair. All right, let's see what your next question is. Okay. You are putting together an Ocean's 11 style heist team out of people you have talked to in the last 48 hours. Mm-hmm. Who do you choose and what are their jobs?
Gosh.
I'm beginning to wish I'd kept track of who had asked all of these.
I mean, let's just look at my DMs real quick because I think there's some really easy answers here. Because in the list of people I've talked to in the last 24 hours include Natara and Demarine.
Okay.
So, I think between the 3 of us, we got it. Natara's there just doing Natara things, and let's face it, Demi's a charmer.
It's true. All right, Leggy, it's been great to talk to you. Before we disappear, please do take the opportunity to not only plug your run again and give us the time, please talk about yourself, your Twitch channel, where people can find you on social media, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so once again, I'm Leggy Starscream. I'm going to be running Super Lesbian Animal RPG, currently scheduled for 3:40 p.m. on Saturday, November 11th. You can find me basically anywhere you see a Leggy Starscream on the internet. That's probably me. These days, I stream, and the only social media platform I'm really active on these days is co-host.
Yep. Awesome. Then, thank you so much for talking to me. I'm looking forward to Super Lesbian Animal Adventure. And for those of you out there in Twitch chat and watching the VOD on YouTube, I will be back momentarily for an interview with Kios Little Monster. Hey out there, it's me back once again. I'm Bob the Ninja Goldfish for those of you that are just joining us on the Twitch stream, but for those of you on YouTube, you've heard me introduce myself like 4 times at this point. So you must be getting sick of it. Someone you haven't heard me introduce before. My guest at this time, everyone's favorite speedrunning cowboy, Kios Little Monster. Say hi.
Hello. Howdy, friends. Good to see you all again.
Well, it's been a long time. You and I talking in this way.
I feel like it's been a bit. Perhaps the last Questing for Glory, I want to say.
Yeah, probably. Everything kind of runs together, especially now that like I'm doing a bit more Limit Break and stuff like that. So, so you are going to be running Forspoken for us, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not 15 this year. I decided to throw a curveball.
Still a Squeenix game. But
it's still a Squeenix game. It's still Luminous Studios, but it's a different one.
I was saying you've got a brand that you're going to stick to.
I guess so.
So when is your run again?
So my run will be Wednesday, the 8th at 5:50 p.m. Eastern.
Now that is approximate.
Yeah, plus or minus.
Plus or minus due to scheduling and people's runs going long or coming under or whatever.
Yep.
Now, I have to ask. Forspoken is currently sitting with a Metacritic user rating of 3.8 out of 10. There are certain runners who have a brand of playing not very good games. You aren't one of them, dare I say. So what is it about Forspoken that drew you to it as a run?
I honestly, I think we already touched on it, like the familiarity because of all the years of like 15 and understanding how like the game engine works. Despite the review bombing and whatever anyone's opinion on the game is, I like as a speed run, it moves very quickly. Like when you have it on a console or a PC that can really handle the game, the movement is so smooth, the combat is fluid, and it doesn't feel like a task when I'm running it. It just flows, for lack of a better term.
Feels very familiar.
Yeah, and it's just.
Did you get to carry across a lot of muscle memory from like 15 or whatever?
Not like in direct inputs, but like understanding how your character interacts with things and where the physics system is. Very much so. Like there's at least a little innate knowledge that I didn't have to like do hours of testing with movement. It just kind of was there, and I just adjust for the changes that the engine's made for the much newer game.
Yeah. So we're looking at like a 2-hour 25 estimate, I think, off the top of my head. I've tried my best to like memorize things and look professional and stuff because now if we were doing these live, that peek behind the curtain for everyone, we'd have monitors everywhere behind the camera just full of information that we can look at a glance, right? So I'm trying to like memorize stuff and like try and look at least slightly professional doing this. So yeah, we're looking at like 2 hours 25 minutes, right?
Yep, plus or minus.
What is how much of that is? So I've not played Forspoken, and from what I can tell, a lot of people haven't. What is your average completion time on a regular run through?
Like casually, or just me?
Just like a casual, like someone playing through it for the first time.
So I played through it casually first, and I put about, I want to say about 40, 50 hours into it, and there was still a whole bunch of stuff I didn't touch on the map.
Okay.
It's to not compare it too much to 15, it kind of has that level of like
worldy.
Yeah, you can, if you just want to play the main quest storyline, you can do that. If you want to go find side quests and explore, it's totally on the player. It doesn't force you to do it.
I mean, Skyrim has a lot to answer for, doesn't it? So you're running any percent true ending.
Yep.
What is involved in that category that's going to make it different from just say a regular any percent run?
So the true ending makes you fight the final big bad boss. You basically at the end of the previous chapter, you get to choose. Would you like to go home and just whatever, it's not my problem, or do you want to help the land of Athia that you've been, teleported to, which is technically your home?
So then you have this extra boss fight, and that's what gives you the true ending. Okay.
Yep.
And is there how much extra preparation is there in the run for that fight, or is it
not
just
much? To be honest, just make sure you have all your abilities set correctly and have at it.
So no extra consumables, no weird routing or anything to get. Okay.
No, thankfully.
I mean, it's always a nice bone that you get thrown, isn't it?
Yep.
So I'm not gonna lie, I will end up saying this about 90% of the games on the schedule that I'm super looking forward to seeing this run. And the only reason I'm not wouldn't say that about the other 10% of the run is because that's when I'm going to try and sleep.
Yeah. I'm working back up for high spirits so he can get some sleep this week too. I have a couple of restream sessions. We all know the feel.
Yeah. So what else are you looking forward to on the schedule other than that? I'm going to say other than stuff you're not involved in if you're couching or something like that.
There are some really good ones.
Yeah.
I know there is a Chained Echoes race on Tuesday with Moonblaze.
Yeah.
And
Ferric.
Yeah. Those two are absolutely just wonderful. And I mean, Moonblaze has been working that game for pretty much since it came out, I think. Pretty solid work. I know Wandering Mind is doing Valkyria Chronicles on Thursday, and I think it's their first time really back into speedrunning. So, what else do we have? I know there's
Chronicles is a very interesting style of game as well.
It is. It's a very unique experience. And then there's, I think Nikki's doing Tactics Advanced.
Yeah, that's the one I'm always excited to see. I always like watching the Tactics
you
games.
don't really see that game out in the wild, and everyone has opinions on it, but just to see a game like that really just ran is always interesting to me.
Yeah. And I'm going to be biased and say I'm really looking forward to seeing Final Fantasy X2 on the last day. I'm not the greatest fan of some of the character and the plotting, but I will always love the mechanics of that game.
Yeah.
And that's a race, so that should be a good one.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree, honestly, further. I actually had a discussion about it last night, but 10-2 is, I'll say it and people get mad, but I think I agree with you that mechanically it is one of the most fun Final Fantasy games to play. It's just the story and plot just woefully drags it down, unfortunately. Yeah.
So I'm going to be looking forward to looking in Twitch chat as we're saying this. But yeah, I think that we've kind of covered it all. So it is time to reach over and grab the top hat of random questions.
Yes!
It is time. So let's pick out your first question. Now, I covered this when I interviewed Leggy before you, but for those of you who are just joining us in the Twitch stream, top hat of random questions. A couple of years ago when I started doing these pre-shows, I polled the Discord and Twitter for QFG, asking people to just submit random questions they would like me to ask anyone I interviewed, and I've got a top hat full of them, and I am pulling them out and I'm asking them as we go. All right, so this should be an interesting one because I'm not even sure this is something you would have an opinion on.
All right.
Who is your favorite Star Trek captain and why?
I feel like Picard would probably be the answer. I'm not a huge like Star Trek fan. I didn't get much into it.
Yeah.
But everyone knows the meme of with just the holding his head. But from the little bit of Star Trek I found, I enjoy like the attitude and kind of the pithiness of him as someone that's commanding a space vessel.
Yeah. As someone who, if you want out there in chat, for someone who does watch a lot of Star Trek like myself, Picard used to be my favorite, but after Discovery and Strange New Worlds, Captain Pike is very much top of my list right now. Anyway, let's see what's next here. Since you didn't really watch Star Trek, we'll ask you a third one. What fictional place would you like to go to? What fictional world would you like to go to?
Is Japan fictional?
Japan is not fictional, and you've been there.
I'll be honest. We'll go to Altissia from Final Fantasy 15, which is basically like video game Venice, really, but
okay,
it's just beautiful. Like in terms of like video game places, it's just one of those just so well put together sceneries, and I love cities like that.
Yeah, I always think that like it's gonna entirely depend on when I get to go, right? Like, sure, it'd be nice to go to like Middle Earth, go to like the Shire, but not during the scourging of the Shire, right?
Yes,
like
not during Ents walking around destroying everything. Preferably not.
Yeah. All right, so since you don't watch Star Trek, we'll ask you a third one nice and quick. This is one you're going to have an opinion on.
All right.
And I think I already know your answer. Pizza, tacos, fried chicken, or burgers?
Pizza, tacos, fried chicken, or burgers?
Yep.
I'm going to treat this like a Rorschach test.
Okay.
And well, yeah, I'm going to have to go with fried chicken. That's the only one that's fully encased.
Really?
Yeah. Everything else is the odd one out when you think about it.
I genuinely thought you would pick tacos there.
Yeah, there are tacos.
Proclivity to making them.
Listen, if we have another taco incident and High Spirits isn't involved, I'm getting fired.
I'm not involved.
Well, next time we can get all out there, I will have to make it happen. I don't care if I'm delivering tacos.
Wonderful. All right, Kios, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's, once again, before we head off to our third interview with Crow, let's have you go back over who you are, what you're running, when you're running it, and tell people where they can find you on Twitch and on social media.
Cool. I'm Kios. I will be running Forspoken the evening of Wednesday, the 8th, right around 6 o'clock Eastern. I am on every social media site as Kios Little Monster. If you find me on any other social media sites under a different name, no, you didn't.
Yeah. And so then I will say to you watching, it is time for me to hand over to, well, myself with Crow. Thank you very much, Kios, and see you in a minute, Jack.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to our third interview of our pre-show. I am, as I have been this whole pre-show, Bob the Ninja Goldfish, and I am here with a runner we shall see on day one. I don't want to assign an epithet per se, but I would just say the brilliant Crow. Crow, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Brilliant. Now, we're going to actually be seeing you later today, right, on day one.
Yep. 8:50 Eastern US time is my run.
Yeah. What are you going to be running for us?
I am bringing Final Fantasy Adventure. It's known actually by several different names depending on where you're from. Europe, it was called Mystic Quest, not to be confused with Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, which is a different game on a different console. In Japan, it was Final Fantasy Gaiden Seiken Densetsu. You may recognize Seiken Densetsu as the Japanese name for the Mana series. This is the first game of the Mana series, and it's on the Game Boy.
Because one thing Final Fantasy has never done is having a confusing naming scheme for their games. So now, Final Fantasy Adventure is something we are not unfamiliar with in the speedrunning scene. As such, tell me a little bit about how you really got into running Final Fantasy Adventure and what it was that sort of really hooked you about the game.
Yeah. So honestly, the initial impetus was as simple as I had finished kind of what I wanted to achieve with Secret of Mana, and I was looking for another game to speedrun. I was like, you know what? This is another game in the series. I don't really see a whole lot of work done so far on it, and I like doing routing stuff. That's kind of what draws me to speedrunning. So I brought in a magic focused build. Kind of the logical way to go through the game is build as much strength as possible, and just kind of plow through with physical attacks, careful positioning. Magic is a very different way to go about it, and I wanted to see, can this actually be competitive? Can I actually get an impressive run without really getting much physical attack at all? And it kind of worked out, and for a time I did have the world record. Some other people have moved on since then with more revised ideas for physical attack, but still it's a pretty interesting differentiation between completely different approaches to how to get through the game.
So does that become its own category, or is it just mixed in with the...
I think in like the JRTA community considers it a different category. We don't. For the most part, we usually define the goals of a speed run, like the category of the speed run by the goals and what you do in it, not necessarily the way you achieve it, except for like if you're doing glitch versus not glitched. And my run is in fact going to be a warpless run. So I'm not going out of bounds to instantly arrive at the end game. That is another category that's recently had a bunch of cool rerouting done. Definitely check that out if you haven't looked at it recently. But my run is going to go through the entire game, which will allow me to get spells so I can actually deal damage with magic.
So we're looking at about a 220 estimate on your run, right? How much sort of marathon luck are you allowing for in there?
The 2 hours 20 minutes is based off my estimate of if all of the reasonably bad things that could happen in the run happen, this is about where I expect it to land. So most of my practice runs have been coming more like 212, 210. That is with marathon safety stuff included in, but it's a hard game. It is designed very intentionally imitating like Zelda for the NES, and it is NES hard as a result. And death is common, but it lets you save anywhere. It is a portable game, so that's a common feature on that. And it only takes like 3 seconds to do a new save. So essentially, it's just a matter of how frequently do I save versus how frequently do I die. There's enough randomness on when I die that it is quite possible I'll lose like 5 minutes here or there because of an unexpected death. But as long as I'm saving frequently, it shouldn't really be more than that. And just kind of the way the game shakes out, like 220, that's marathon bad luck there. Yeah.
So I know that are you going to be running your magic route for us?
Yep, that is correct. And actually, a big part of why I was getting back into the game this year was because some people, while they were rerouting the out of bounds thing, they found some other minor glitches that don't really help the physical build at all, but they do have some interesting applications if you're trying to get through the game with magic. The first like huge boss of the game that the game presents as being this is probably the final boss, that guy, it turns out you can put him to sleep if you do some nonsense. So yeah, stun locking that guy is unexpected. There's also some weird stuff with how the game processes weaknesses. A couple other little things here and there. So there have been some tweaks in the run. And yes, I am bringing the mage build here rather than physical attack.
That's awesome. I'm super looking forward to that. I've not seen a magic based run of adventure before. So, speaking of looking forward to things, anything on the schedule that's piquing your interest other than your own run?
Well, I do have to give a nod to David TKI's run through Quest for Glory, the entire collection. So taking one character and importing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next for all 5 games of the series. Quest for Glory, questing for glory. It's got to be there. And I am actually providing commentary on that run, so awesome. A little bias on that one. But it is quite a bit of fun.
Anything you're not directly involved in?
Anything I'm not directly involved in. I think Valkyria Chronicles is just a really cool take on tactical RPGs. I'm definitely going to be checking that one out.
Yeah,
honestly, I don't know the details of those games that well, and I'd like to learn more.
Yeah, I think Wandering Mind will do great with Valkyria Chronicles too. We just got done interviewing Kios. I'm really looking forward to his run. Forspoken is such a polarizer game. I'm interested to see the speedrun. Anyway, that being said, as we have done for all of our other interviewees today, and whenever I do these, it is time to introduce you the top hat of random questions. I've already outlined in another interview what this is, so if you're late, just a quick sum up. Top hat, random questions. I ask 2 of every interviewee. Okay, so our first one is... What is your go-to song to sing in the shower? Or
I don't do a whole lot of singing in the shower.
If you could be very good at one karaoke song, what would it be?
Okay. As far as what I've actually hummed in the shower, I think it's going to be the Final Fantasy Legend 2, I think it's called Burning Blood, the theme that plays as you're going through the final dungeon, that one. But as far as karaoke songs, I think... And what is it even called? You know what? I think I can look up the name of the song pretty quickly here.
So for me,
it is actually some religious thing, I think. What was it?
For me, while Crow's looking that up, for me, Mike, if I could be excellent at a single karaoke song, it would probably be Wicked Game by Chris Isaac. I think that would be a great song to be really good at singing. But I listen to a lot of that sort of music, so. Got an answer for us yet, Crow?
I have got an answer as soon as okay.
All right, well, let's move
Pescador de Hombres, apparently. Fisher of Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your second question is, what is your top tip for messing with time travelers?
Top tip for messing with time travelers. Okay, so like a tip I would give to a time traveler to mess with them?
What is your tip to say to me to mess with a time traveler if I meet one?
Okay. So, so you're a time traveler or you're meeting a time traveler?
I'm meeting a time traveler.
You're meeting a time traveler and you want a trick to play on them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like halfway through your interaction with them, suddenly you change your personality. Like after they tell you something that seems unimportant, suddenly you're like a new person because they told you that information they shouldn't have.
Right. Okay.
That's my
so like it's changed the timeline. Okay. All right. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right,
I think that only works if you're meeting someone from the future, I guess.
That's true.
Not as much if they're from the past.
Well, hopefully if they're from the past, we'd know about time travel already.
I guess that is a little weird. Yeah.
something wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, paradoxes, Doctor Who, etc. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, Crow. Do me a favor before we send it back to myself and High Spirits for the outro. Please, once again, tell us what you're playing, when you're playing it. Let us know where we can find you on social media and on your Twitch channel as well.
Sure. I am Crow. I am bringing Final Fantasy Adventure. I'll be playing as a mage through the Warpless category of that game. I'll be bringing it at it's 8:50 p.m. Approximately Eastern U.S. time on Monday, the first day of the marathon. And you can find my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/iicrowii. And that's probably the main way to contact me online. If you really want to go to speedruns.com, I do have some, games I moderate there, but that's not usually the way to contact me, I guess. Awesome. That's me.
Thank you. So as Crow pointed out, his Twitch channel is under his camera and mine is under mine, as has been all the way through these interviews. And all times we have stated are dependent on getting ahead, getting behind in the schedule, that kind of thing. So please, if you are looking for a very specific run, do keep an eye on the schedule. That being said, it is time to throw it back to High Spirits and myself for the final segment of the pre-show. See you later, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And we're back with High Spirits. It is the final part of our pre-show. Pay no attention to the fact that for parts of this pre-show, I was dressed in completely different clothes. Pay no attention to the fact that for part of this pre-show, my beard was braided, and it is not anymore. And pay no attention to the fact that the 3 interviews were filmed during the day, and our beginning and end were filmed at night. It is all one seamless, absolutely live pre-show, which, as you can see by the fact I'm absolutely interacting with chat the whole time.
Exactly. It looked to me like just normal Hollywood special effects. That's all.
Yep, absolutely.
Look at the
Pay
CGI
no attention to any
have.
of that. There is nothing to see here. Don't worry about it.
Spared no expense with the CGI.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Anyway, we are back here with High Spirits. We are going to talk a little bit more about this year's marathon now. Get his sort of picks for the marathon, the runs he's looking forward to the most. I might talk a few about a few of the ones I'm looking forward to as well. So, High Spirits, let's start. Day 1, anything particularly popping out to you? I know that we just got done interviewing Crow, who's going to be running Final Fantasy Adventure. So maybe go around that.
How about I go exactly around that? How
Okay.
about the Crystalis randomizer?
Are you sure it's Crystalis, not Crystalis?
I am certain. Even after being at one of the RPG limit breaks where one person was over here saying Crystalis and the other was saying Crystalis, and I was right in the center, like listening to him go. But yeah, it's a unique situation with this because we got 4 runners doing 2v2 co-op randomizer. So they're each going to be working together in teams to go through the randomizer, and they got 4 of the best Crystalis randomizer runners taking part in this, and it should be pretty exciting. It's actually the only randomizer we have in the entire event too. So,
well, as we know from Limit Break this year, that's something that makes me happy. As we know, all randos are trash.
Hey, don't be like Bob. Be like High Spirits.
We saw how that worked out for you during Limit Break. But yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with something like that. The 2v2 race is going to be an interesting format. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. I'm never going to say no to a good Pixel remaster run. Just nice to see, really, isn't it? Good way to launch.
Final Fantasy 1 especially, because it's just like
off the marathon too.
Yeah, is a great runner, and considering it's the first game, the ending of that should be extremely exciting if you haven't seen the end of a Final Fantasy 1 Pixel remaster run.
Moving on to Tuesday, November 7th. Now, please bear in mind all times and things that we talk about are dependent on our schedule being sort of ahead or maybe behind. It's all going to depend on how runs go. Do always keep in mind the keep a schedule.
Oh yeah, the ebb and the flow. You never know how things are going to go, and you never know tech. You never know runs.
For me, I'm gonna say 7th Saga, because a vote for Olvan is a vote for fight. I know that's not a thing that Dragon Dark does during their run, but ever since EJ did the week of 7th Saga, vote for Olvan. They vote for fight. Yeah, and doing it without the tune-up glitch is going to be very interesting to see. So keep your eyes well and firmly on that one.
I'm going to go the opposite end of the day. I'm going to start off with Astria's Ascending.
Okay.
That is something we had our eyes on last year, especially too. It's a beautiful looking game. It's a fairly new game coming out on the PlayStation 5. And also, this runner is going to have dev commentary. We actually had to move it around the schedule, so their office is in Europe. It was more fitting, fit within their office's work times in Europe. So we're going to have a lot of dev commentary on a nice, relaxed, turn-based game that looks beautiful on the PlayStation 5.
Looking forward to that one. I'd never heard of Astria Ascending before. So it is something that I'm kind of looking forward to peeking. I still don't know when I'm going to sleep during this week.
Hey, me too.
Yeah, but when am I going to sleep? I'm not running the marathon. Wednesday, November 8th. There's a lot to pick here. I've spoken in the interview, one of the interviews earlier, about looking forward to seeing Tactics A2. That game, it's not a game you see Rob very often. I love it. I love it very much. But yeah, what about you?
I mean, some would say that this night into the morning is what you could say is a wacky block with all of the great 7 Saga Moon Remix RPG is one that I'm excited for too. Mm-hmm. That is a very unknown game, mostly because it spent most of its life in Japan before they finally released an English version of it. For some reason, they ported it to the Switch.
You make
Like,
it sound like people who live in Japan aren't known.
no, I'm just saying, like, worldwide.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're worldwide here, Bob.
Okay, Mr. Worldwide.
But
Football,
it's
etc.
one of those games that just like it was a Nintendo game or like an early PC or Nintendo. I think it was Nintendo, but or Super Nintendo, and it's an anti RPG almost. It's like instead of going out and hunting enemies, you got to accumulate love. You know, you got to get friendship. You have to be nice to things, and it's just an amalgamation of RPG genres and different series. Like an homage to all of the old series, and it's a game we recently got released out of Japan like a year ago on the Switch, which, like I said, that was really weird that they picked that game, but I'm excited because you can play it on Steam and on the Switch, and it's something very different than what you're going to see for a lot of this, like your normal RPGs or this event.
Okay. Thursday. This is a big day. Lots of different things here. We've heard from several people that they're looking forward to the Valkyria Chronicles run. For me, it's always I love me the Bard's Tale.
Today.
And
nice. It's holiday themed.
Yeah.
It's the white.
It's in my so what I'm in my oeuvre, as it were.
They got my ass.
What's taking your fancy on Thursday?
Oh yeah, Bard's Tale is one of the games that I grew up on the NES, the good old first-person dungeon crawlers. I'm gonna go the opposite end of the day that I usually do. Now we're gonna do the evening and go Shin Megami Tensei 5 by Freedom Pulse. This is like the newest game in the series. It looks really good, and it's one of those like SMT games that like it looks different than the rest of the series, and it's more welcoming to people. And Freedom Pulse is a great runner, and as we've learned in previous events not long ago, he's a great singer also.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Someone in chat will link that, and if it's not in chat, it'll be in the YouTube comments somewhere.
But as a fan of that type of games, especially like the monster recruitment, monster taming games, that's holds a special place in my heart, especially with the new Dragon Quest monsters coming out, in less than a month.
And then, like at the beginning of the day on Thursday, you have Aeon Frodo doing Fire Emblem Engage. The nice round day on Thursday. A little bit of everything going on.
Right after Fire Emblem is what everyone says. Is that really how you spell the name of that game? GG Mago Old and Young RPG Mini. And yes, that is actually the name of the game.
Yep. Then we pop over to Friday, which begins with dare I say RPG marathon workhorse Suikoden 2. Super looking forward to that. I'm just catching up on the Suikoden VODs while I'm doing other things in the house. So more Suikoden, I'm always down for that. And it'll be great to see PX doing some Atelier as well. Yeah,
we had the little both sides of the Atelier there with Marie. One with the newest remake, doing the one of the ending runs, and then the really, you could say, a meme run of Marie Plus, in which it only takes a few minutes to beat the game. Kind of a little bit of both sides of the coin there, just for fun.
We get a veritable little Atelier block.
Yes, especially with Toturi right after it. Hey, El Magus coming out of Final Fantasy IV retirement to run Final Fantasy IV.
I will believe it when it happens.
What can you say? Like, dragged him out of retirement.
Like, I know it's on the schedule. I know he's in the Discord. I know he's involved in other ways. But I will believe it once the run starts. Okay.
Yeah, I think overall I like the day a lot. For me, something like Nox is really cool. The very old school, like CRPG, like Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, top down RPG. That's a nice little relaxing game, and I look forward to that in the evening. But I like, I like every day. Every day's great, but today is some really good, unique stuff from all over the spectrum.
Yeah. And we started the day with a workhorse. We've got to end the day with a workhorse. Rapid fire, which leads us into. Now, I like Ghost Kumo. I really do. When you say to me Ghost Kumo is going to be running Pokemon Stadium, I was like, "Are you sure?"
It's a far cry from the usual East games that he submits, right?
I just imagine him with a Pikachu on his shoulder, and it just doesn't work. And we did hear from our very first interview. We heard from Leggy, going to be running Super Lesbian Animal RPG, which is just the title alone.
Such an adorable game, though.
Yeah. So what about what else is going on Saturday? That is, I'm not trying to say like, because at certain points people are going to need sleep, right? So what is the one run on Saturday you will not sleep through?
Well, if I look at the restream schedule, obviously I love Xenogears.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Japanese version of the game, which is very glitchy. That's why it's such a short estimate. You can't go wrong with the Demon Rush before it, right? Can we get those football dinos in chat, everyone? If you're a subscriber to the channel, get your football dinos ready.
Yeah.
Got some Demon Rush remake. But yeah, I'm there for the day. Quest for Glory, obviously, Saturday evening by David.
Now,
our namesake.
We're doing sort of one character that goes all the way through all 4 games, I believe.
5 games.
5 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a single fighter because this is the good thing about the Quest for Glory games is you can just transfer your character in between the games. And so he's just going to build it up from the first game all the way through the 5th.
And then we move into Sunday, November 12th, the final day of the marathon. We're looking at like banger after banger after banger here. I said earlier that the one that I'm super looking forward to is Final Fantasy X-2. But let's be honest, there's Chrono Trigger, there's Ever Oasis, there's Legend of Heroes, Trails to the Riviera. I can't wait. It's gonna be a great last day.
Yeah, Ever Oasis is might be the lesser known of all these games, obviously, because the Legend of Heroes Trails of Reverie just came out, so it's still a fairly new title in worldwide, and then obviously Final Fantasy X2 Erase is
Final Fantasy X2, one of the worst storylines ever, but amazing mechanics.
Yeah, it's great speedrun to watch, easily.
Yeah,
but yeah, I like Ever Oasis by Anatole. It is kind of like a town builder with a top-down action RPG, and it's a very relaxing, chill, really adorable, great sprites for the 3DS, and something to just bring us into the final day before we hit all of those big series back to back to back to finish us off.
And then we round off with Chrono Trigger, and hopefully be 100%.
I'm sure we could, as everyone in chat can put some, emphasis or influence on the runner to Wonder Shot. Use your chatting powers to get the runner.
Say spam chat and annoy our mods.
Yes.
However,
it's the end of the week. We're just going to make sure everyone's awake. That's all.
Yeah. Mods are asleep post Wonder Shot. What? I didn't say that. No. All right.
Yes.
We've gone through the schedule. We've gone through the schedule. We've gone through a bit of the history of Questing for Glory, we've gone through 3 interviews. But the one thing you haven't got,
Mm-hmm.
top hat.
Ah.
So I've explained this now in each interview, but for those of you who are just joining us on Twitch, top hat, it's full of random questions. We ask everyone too, except for Kios, who we asked 3 because he got given a low ball. All right. If you are playing casually, what classes do you tend towards in video games?
That one's easy for me. I am a caster at heart. So I will generally go towards a priest first, a healer. And then after that, go for a a mage, a wizard type class. I don't know. I was never one to just like take the hits. Like I grew up like World of Warcraft. I was the healer. I was the shadow priest, you know? And even like playing multi-user dungeons, MUDs way back, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s. I always just like taking the classes, just went out there and, you know, pew pew pew.
Yeah, I tend towards support classes as well.
Oh yeah.
But if I'm playing it doesn't have like healers or anything, I tend to play like engineers or pet classes, that kind of thing.
I guess as a healer, I'm afraid to play like a tank because I know like they're gonna yell at me if they don't heal me, but I don't want to yell at them if they.
All right, your second question is a 3-part question.
I hope I can remember all 3.
3 for 1. Are you a good cook? What is your go-to dish when cooking for yourself solo? And what is your go-to dish you are cooking for a group?
Okay. No, I'm a terrible cook. I know a few recipes, mostly thanks to my mom or thanks to just on a whim. I would say my biggest indulgent that I'm really, really like for myself, and I would never feed it to anyone else because, sorry, bacon wrapped meatloaf. With obviously
not weird. A lot of people do that.
It's really greasy and heavy, so it's like I think though the best dish I make for other people, lasagna.
Can't go wrong with a good lasagna.
I'm great at lasagna. That's the one thing I'm confident in is I can make a great lasagna, and I have made it for other people. So,
well, that is going to conclude our time with High Spirits for today. In fact, it is going to conclude our entire pre-show, and we are going to lead in Questing for Glory 2023. High Spirits, is there anything you want to say before we go?
I mean, everyone's going to see me all week anyways, but but enjoy the upcoming week. This is our 9th event since 2017. So we're almost up to the big 2 digits for events.
Big 10 next year.
Big 10, which is 7.
Yeah. What?
And just hope we hope you enjoy the week and just, you know, enjoy all the work being put in by all the runners.
That being said, as High Spirits has said, we hope you enjoy the week. We will leave you, as I always do, by saying, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and all those beyond that spectrum. The words of these... I got it wrong. We'll try it again. In the words of the 16th President of these United States, Abraham Lincoln, be excellent to each other. Party on, my friend.
Enjoy the event.